Hello everyone, Stormer1 here. Today we'll be talking about the severe weather potential Thursday and especially into Friday, and there's also another potential chance for severe weather early next week. We're going to get started. Watch warning advisory display across the country. There's some activity out there, but closer to home we got some flooding issues out there, especially across the Mid-Atlantic and the Central Appalachian Mountains out there. There's quite a few flood alerts out there you see in green and even those brownish colors. We've had a few flood alerts out here in Kentucky as well. We got a couple of flood advisories and even a flash flood warning that includes Hardin County, southwest of Elizabethtown, out there. And you're going to see why here on the radar here that's going on throughout the day. We still have this upper level low that's out here. Right now, the upper level low is kind of out in western Kentucky. That's going to move off to the northeast through tonight, and by tomorrow should be up out of here, up into Ohio. But you can kind of see how the movement of the showers and storms been going. They've been going around the upper level low. You can see the showers and storms in Tennessee. They kind of go east and they kind of turn more to the north. And then you got the storms up towards central Kentucky, kind of going to the north and even trying to go a little bit to the northwest at times. As well. So they're wrapping around this upper level low that we have out here in the lower Ohio Valley. And some of these are slow movers as well, especially the showers and storms closest to the surface low, which is the ones we got going on out here. And that's creating some localized flooding issues out there right now. But despite that, some of us haven't seen much rain over the last 2 days. Especially in sections of central and northern Kentucky. And there's even a couple mesonet stations didn't even get to a tenth of an inch of rain out there. However, some of us did get quite a bit of rain, like in southeastern Kentucky. Got a couple mesonet stations that have exceeded 2 inches of rain out there. So some winners and losers over the last 2 days out there. And rain chances will be lower tomorrow. Better rain chances will probably be more focused in northeastern Kentucky out there. And we'll be able to see it from the high-res NAM here. And you can see those showers and thunderstorms ongoing out there. As the sun goes down, you're going to see the coverage decrease. And there's a possibility for a few showers, maybe a storm or two that may try to refire tomorrow morning across parts of central and northern Kentucky out there. Those will be moving off to the northeast, get a little bit of a break, and the main upper level low at that point should be moved all the way up into the northeast by that time. And really by late tomorrow into tomorrow night, we're going to have a warm front that's going to come through here, and there could be an isolated shower, thunderstorm up along that warm front that moves across the area, and then that begins to take us into Thursday out there. And we'll look into the SPC outlook for Thursday, where there's actually an enhanced risk for severe weather for a good chunk of Wisconsin. You got a slight risk across the Great Lakes, and even extend down towards portions of the Ohio Valley. Here's a closer view of that. You can see the slight risk includes parts of the I-71 corridor. It does include Madison and even the Cincinnati and Covington areas. But most of Kentucky in the dark green shade is in a marginal risk. And I honestly think marginal risk is the best category of risk for this type of situation, because it's more of a conditional risk out there. And I'll explain why in a few moments. The only area that's not in any severe weather risk is in far southeastern Kentucky out there. But Thursday's not the only day we're watching. Day 4, which is Friday, there's a slight risk for severe weather across central and western Kentucky. Here's a closer view of that. It does include the big cities of Louisville, Lexington, Bowling Green, down even Somerset, and all of western Kentucky out there. And I think you're going to see some big changes on this outlook later tonight. In my opinion, the slight risk should be across the entire state of Kentucky, and I think we can even see an enhanced risk upgrade, especially across central and western Kentucky. And you will see why in a few moments. But as we get into Thursday here, most of Thursday looks to stay dry here. But let me show you guys the superset composite parameters here. Ideally, supercell composite parameters, around a 4 is pretty good environment for some supercells. Well, late Thursday afternoon to the evening, we got numbers up as high as a 10 out there. And you can see here, as you get a little bit deeper into the evening, you can see your numbers even go up as high as a 12 or 13, or even up as high as a 16 out there. And look up towards our northwest, up in Indiana, up as high as a 22. So you got some very high numbers out there. But if you were to go back to reflectivity, areas in the highest SCP values, there's no storms. So why is there no storms out there? Well, if we were to get a forecast sounding, let's get in central Kentucky here, and you're going to be able to see why. And the reason why the SCP values are so high is because, number one, the atmosphere is very unstable, and number two, we got quite a bit of wind shear, especially in the upper levels. And you can see why, based off of the sounding here, why we don't have storms. And in this red box that I just placed out there, you see that red line, your temperature line crosses over the blue dotted line like this. That's a cap inversion out there. And what a cap inversion is a layer of warm air out there. And thunderstorms cannot go for that cap. Think about it this way. Think about your fist as a thunderstorm updraft, and a brick wall is your cap inversion. Obviously, when you punch into the brick wall, obviously it's not going to get through. So using that analogy, you kind of know what a cap inversion is. Using that analogy. And the cap is going to hold pretty strong throughout really most of the day on Thursday. And this is going to help prevent storms. And thank goodness it's going to help prevent storms, because if we don't have a cap out there, it's going to cause some problems out there. For sure, if we were to get storms to form out there. Now, there are two ways to weaken the cap. Number one is to moisten it up. You can see here your green line, which is your dew point line, goes out more off to the left. And that's an indication for drier air. If the green line is closer to the temperature line, that's an indication there's moisture. But when the green line is away from the temperature line, that's drier air out there. So moistening up can help weaken the cap. Another thing can help weaken the cap is have a stronger low-level jet. If you look at 850 millibar winds, you can see throughout most of Thursday, it's generally on the weak side. But as you get later into Thursday evening here, you see the low-level jet starts to ramp up. Now, in my opinion, I think the low-level jet's a little bit overdone on this model here. But this model does suggest the possibility for low-level jet winds getting north of 50 knots. If we do see low-level jet winds north of 50 knots, that might be weak enough for storms to break through the cap. However, if you look at the timing here, you see that's 3Z. That's around midnight. And by that point, instability values are going down. And this is the toughest part of the forecast for Thursday, is how much is the cap going to weaken? And if it gets to the point where storms can break through, when is that going to happen? That is stuff that's unknown. But what I'm more confident to say about Thursday is that the cap's going to hold throughout most of the day, especially for peak time heating. I don't think we're going to get storms peak time heating on Thursday. However, if there's a chance that we see storms breaking through the cap, it's more likely going to be Thursday night during the overnight hours. And I think the better opportunity for that is probably going to be somewhere across southern Indiana, maybe parts of northern Kentucky. I'm out there. But I think most of the state should be able to stay away from the severe weather threat here for Thursday, and especially, or even into Thursday night out there as well. And as we go into Friday morning here, I think there could be a couple of storms out there, and modeling does not do a very good job with storms as you go into Thursday, during the overnight hours into the morning hours on the next day. Sometimes some models don't show anything, but in reality, there can still be a few pesky showers and thunderstorms out there, and that could have an impact as you head into Friday. And that's going to be important to know. What happens Thursday night can impact Friday's setup. So let's talk more about Friday. Friday is looking to be the bigger day here. So we're going to use the NAM model here, the 12Z NAM. Now, some of you guys may know I'm not a big fan of the NAM, and the main reason why is that it's not a very good model, especially this year, and I even think last year it wasn't even good. But this is really all we got. There's another model I could show you guys, but I don't think it's good at this range either. And I think the better model to use is probably going to be the 12Z NAM. And I think there's some accuracy, a little bit of accuracy to it on this model run. So this is the model I'm going to show you guys. You guys will likely see a different model on the next video. But anyway, the overall setup is that same surface low for Thursday is going to hang up around the upper Midwest into Friday here. You're going to see it weaken here. If I move to the European model real quick. So this is Thursday. You got a 984 millibar low over the tri-state area of the Dakotas and Minnesota. You see here how the low just kind of hangs around a little bit. There's maybe even a sign it weakens a little bit here at some point here. But what's kind of interesting with this trough here is that as it kind of wraps itself around here, it goes negatively tilt for Friday. So Thursday. It goes negatively tilt for Thursday. Then trends more positively tilt, as you get up into Thursday night into Friday morning. But then as you get to peak time heating on Friday, where it wraps itself around, now it becomes more neutrally tilt. This is kind of a unique situation here. It's something you don't see very often, especially with a severe weather setup. And what happens here is when it wraps itself around like that, it helps increase the winds here towards the south here. It creates a tighter pressure gradient here in the upper levels. So all of a sudden here, you go from early in the day on Friday here, the jet streak, it's a little bit messy out there, but you got a little bit of a jet streak of anywhere from about 70, 80 knots. But then it becomes a little more confined as you get later today on Friday here. You can see a pretty nice jet streak across Missouri and Illinois. Ideally, an area favorable for severe storms to form would be out ahead of it. So it would be this area here circled in red. The NAM model, it does initiate thunderstorms more down towards the lower Ohio Valley region down there. Now, you're going to see that shift around from run to run. And I'll tell you, 18Z run has a different area here, and that doesn't surprise me. The exact track of the thunderstorms is not going to be set in stone probably up until Thursday night. Just to let you guys know that ahead of time. So whatever we're looking at, especially in terms of reflectivity wise, will probably be different, a little bit different. But based on the 5 millibar winds, this would be supported for severe weather. You'll have thunderstorms that develop on the right exit region of the jet streak. If we were to look into the low of jet, which let's have a closer view here. By the way, areas you see here, these pockets of much weaker winds here, those are thunderstorms. Those are thunderstorms out there. By the way, if you guys were wondering, let's check out the 850 millibar winds. So this is the low of a jet. We talked about this earlier for Thursday night. Low of a jet would be kicking in. You can see here, low of a jet winds potentially approaching 60 knots. Could be a little bit overdone. The NAM likes to be overdone with the low of a jet, especially at this range. But overdone or not, it should be supportive enough to support severe weather. But you also see this area of stronger winds here across southern Indiana, parts of western Kentucky. That's the rear inflow jet for that thunderstorm cluster out there. And usually rear inflow jets help enhance thunderstorm clusters, and it can increase the damage and wind threat. So that'll be another thing to watch. When this thunderstorm cluster gets going, it's likely going to have a rear inflow jet. with it, which generally is behind the thunderstorms, that cluster of thunderstorms, or the line out there. So we'll have the Lova jet kind of kick into gear. It will be strong enough to support severe weather. What about the dew points? Dew points, oh yeah, we got them. Low, potentially mid-70s. It's got a dew point of 75. That may be a little bit high, but we'll at least see dew points in the upper 60s to low 70s out there. So dew points more than supportive for severe weather. What about instability? Instability could be very unstable. You got instability values that could be anywhere from 3,000 to possibly exceeding 4,000 joules per kilogram. This model sometimes like to be overdone with CAPE. It's got CAPE potentially up to 5,000 joules per kilogram. I don't think we're going to get there. I think realistically, it's going to be probably up to 4,000 joules per kilogram. It's possible we may overachieve a little bit, especially if we get more clearing out there. And this kind of goes back to the point that I said earlier. If we don't see much way of storms in the morning, that leaves the environment completely untapped for the next wave here, and that can lead to higher instability values. If we do see more storms early in the day, that can keep the instability values more tamed. So it's going to be important to know that. And that's something that's going to be ironed out, unfortunately, for another day or two, or especially Thursday night. And let's check out the supercell composite here. You're going to see here numbers once again pretty high. It's up as high as an 18 out there, even up as high as a 20 out there. Well, let's get a forecasting. You remember for Thursday SIP, we had that big cap inversion in place, which would help keep off the storms. Not Friday. This is why Friday's got much higher potential, because we're not going to have that issue with the cap. The cap, if it's there, it's going to be weak. Now, I will say we'll probably have a strong cap inversion probably early in the day, but it's going to be weakening as the day goes on. But you can see here, the cap inversion, it's not there. It's not really there. So, let's look at the other ingredients here. So, surface-based instability from the higher-risk NAM's got 5,200. Surface-based CAPE, that's likely overdone, but mixed layer CAPE is up to 3,200. So that's some solid mixed layer CAPE. D-CAPE is north of 900, almost to 1,000. That would be favorable for damage winds. A pretty important thing about this setup here in particular is something we don't see too often in Kentucky is steep mid-level lap rates. A lot of times when we had severe weather setups here in Kentucky, lap rates are not that impressive. This time around it is. We'll have a pretty good Elvin mixer coming in here, so that will help destabilize the atmosphere and also kind of keep the atmosphere or the environment a little bit cleaner from cloud debris and even showers as well. It'll keep coverage pretty limited from the shower side. If you look at the hodograph, that does support supercell-like structures, and that's going to be another thing to watch for as well, is the potential for supercells to develop out ahead of that main cluster of thunderstorms. I do think there is going to be a big cluster of thunderstorms that rolls through most of Kentucky Friday, but supercells, I think it's possible we can see some supercells out ahead of it. If we do see them, they do have potential to produce large to potentially very large hail, damage and winds. And in terms of the tornado risk, I think the potential is there for some isolated tornadoes. The tornado potential on Friday is better than Thursday out there. Lova shear is arguably maybe a little bit better out there. And you can see, ideally, storm rate to Felicity out there, north of 150 is favorable for tornadoes. Strong tornado-wise, it's got to be north of 300 for a setup like this. And you can say we're not quite there for strong tornado potential, but we'll keep an eye on SRH values and see if those numbers here do trend higher as we get closer, because it's very possible it can, especially if we end up having a stronger surface low well off to our northwest in the upper Midwest. But we do have strong upper level shear up around 69, so that's definitely going to be favorable, and that will keep the thunderstorms pretty organized out there. So based off of this sounding here, conditions are favorable for damaging winds, large to very large hail, and isolated tornadoes. The damage wind threat, I think, may also have potential to be significant as well. If you don't know, significant wind is 75 miles an hour or greater. Very large hail is 2 inches in diameter or greater. So potential is certainly there for some significant severe weather as well for Friday. I think one of the bigger unknowns for Friday is exactly where that cluster of thunderstorms develops. That's still something that's a work in progress out there. That's something that may not be answered probably up until Thursday night here when we get more models in range, because right now we're still kind of a little ways out for right now. But as soon as the high-risk NAM and the HRRR model gets in range for Friday, we should get a much better idea on where the cluster of thunderstorms develops, and that's where we're most likely going to see an enhanced risk upgrade. I think Friday definitely supports an enhanced risk upgrade, and also definitely keep an eye on the forecast as we get closer. Friday could be an impactful day, and also potentially widespread as well. After Friday, Saturday looks all right. The front, I think, it's going to pass Kentucky here. We can probably have some showers and thunderstorms left over across southern Kentucky, but I think it's going to slowly clear across or throughout the day, I should say. And as you get into Saturday night and especially into Sunday here, that front that's off to our south is likely to come back north as a warm front. And this is our next system to watch after Friday. We got a strong 990 millbar low ejecting out of the Rockies in Colorado. That's a pretty strong low coming out of there. And you can see here by Monday morning, the warm front at that point should pass through our area. But look at the snow behind that low in Wyoming, portions of Nebraska, South Dakota. It's May 19th, and there's potential for snow behind that low. Not in the higher elevations, in the lower elevations. So that kind of gives you an idea that this is not going to be a weak system. This is going to be a strong storm system. Now, what's interesting is that the European model wants to weaken the system. I don't know if it's going to weaken like that or not, but it does try to develop a secondary surface low out there. But regardless here, I think the surface low is definitely going to create another round of some severe weather. Monday, which would be the first day, will probably be more across the plains, maybe into sections of Arkansas, Missouri, and maybe upwards into Iowa. Then I think by Tuesday, it shifts farther off to the east here. More focus over in the mid-Mississippi River Valley and maybe parts of the Ohio Valley here in Kentucky. And I think we do have to keep an eye on next Tuesday as well, because this one here definitely has some severe potential, and there is strong support from the ensembles that will have rich moisture and favorable wind energy. So that tells me we'll likely have a good combination of instability and shear. So we definitely got to watch for next Tuesday's system as well. And we'll get more in detail with next Tuesday's system, especially after Friday's system. But definitely stay tuned for more updates as we get closer to these events. But anyways, guys, that's all I got for you guys today. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Guys, like this video, hit the like button. If you really like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification to never miss an upload. If you guys get any questions, put a comment section down below. I answer you guys' questions. I see you guys in the next video. Goodbye and have a good day.